What's going on, people? Welcome back to Neeks Sports. Yeah, we're here for a Manchester United versus RB Leipzig preview. And yeah, it's been a interesting few matches since the international break. I mean, me personally as a Man United fan, I'm happy. I think we've done well since the international break. You know, previously we had got battered by Spurs, battered by Palace, lucky to win against Brighton. Since then, we've battered Newcastle, deserved win in Paris, and we drew 0-0 with Chelsea, which put a dampener for some people. For most people, to be fair, but I think all in all, you look at those three games, I think we've done pretty well. We can't really complain. So we go into this game against RB Leipzig, 3 points on the board, 3 points that most people didn't think we would get away at Paris. RB Leipzig, who most suspect are our challengers, our competitors for the second place in the group to qualify out of the group. But, considering the win that we actually got in the previous game, I'm looking at it like we can win this game and put ourselves in a pole position to top the group. If we get 6 points on the board, knowing that we're playing Istanbul back-to-back next, we could be qualified before we have to play Leipzig and PSG again. We could actually, if we do the job that we need to do. No one would have said, yeah, after 4 games we'll be qualified, but getting that win in Paris as we did, we must be confident going into this game. And of course, a lot of the talk is going to be about the team. Which team is Ollie going to put out? Who's going to be dropped? Who's going to be selected? There's been a lot of talk about Van der Beek, Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba, whether or not these players can play together in the same team. Good players can play together. Can Solskjaer find the right balance for this team? I've got a few ideas about kind of what I would do go into this game. Now, this is probably going to differ massively to what Solskjaer would do. In my I've got 2 11s I'm going to put up in a second. In my 2 11s, neither of them have McTominay in the team. But based on his press conference that he just had maybe about half an hour ago or so, McTominay was sitting beside him and talking with him in the press conference. So it's very likely that McTominay will play. But I'm still going to present the teams that I will play. And we can discuss, chat in the comments about what players we think should come in and what formation we should use. And we've still got a lot of matches in the near future that we need to consider in terms of who starts and who gets rotated. But looking at some of Solskjaer's comments from the press conference, he said we look at every single game as a chance to get 3 points. And in the Champions League, we know that 10 points generally gets you through. So as I said, we win this game, we'll be on 6 points with back-to-back games against Istanbul. By the end of those back-to-back games, if we get 6 points after today, I expect to qualify within 4 games. Because we should be beating Istanbul home and away. He says Fred is a very valuable member of the squad, great boy around the team, and his performances have been very positive. He's still getting used to the Premier League. Well, you know what? He has been here 2 years now, so I don't think him getting used to the Premier League can be used as any excuse or any reason. I think he's well adapted now, and his performances have shown that for me he's adapted. So there's no reason to kind of protect Fred anymore, whether it's in your analysis or Solskjaer in terms of putting him into the starting lineup. Fred is ready and raring to go, and I think I've seen enough good performances to suggest. So he said his fitness and you can see with Fred his fitness and performances, and he and Scott McTominay are great assets to the squad. And we saw a stat that went around, I think it must have been on Saturday, regarding how well Man United and how well Bruno Fernandes plays when he has Scott McTominay and Fred behind compared to when he doesn't. So it's all about the balance. It's all about the balance. And sometimes, we can say, oh, Fred and McTominay must play because of those stats. But sometimes it's not even just in terms of the personnel, but it's about the mindset about who you put in those positions. Because if you have a Paul Pogba playing where McTominay has, you're not asking Paul Pogba to do that same job. That's not his skill set. But what about if you put a Matic in that position? Can he do the same job next to a Fred that McTominay is asked to do? Or are you comparing apples with egg? Are you comparing a Matic, Pogba and Bruno team versus a Fred, McTominay and Bruno team? Those are 3 midfielders with a different skill set from one to the next. So, you know, stats can be misleading, but it's clear that those two have an important role to play in this season, especially where you're going to have games. You know, we'll go through it, but it's literally 2 games a week up until, I know, at least up until the new year, probably even further than that. Solskjaer goes on to say, he says, of course, any chance to give players a breather would be welcome. You don't want to push players too much as there's a risk of injury. The human side is going to be big this season. And that is going to come to light when I show my 2 teams and who I've got missing out and being rested or rotated. In special circumstances, because we're in special circumstances, we play every 2 or 3 days relentlessly until the end of the season. I didn't even look that far ahead, so maybe it is until the end of the season. Then there's Euros and then the new season. And then he goes on to speak about RB Leipzig and how good they are. And there's a comment here from Shane who says, looking forward to seeing Upamecano going up against his future team. And Solskjaer touches on that. He says, let me just find the comment. Bear with me 1 second. He says, since he's playing against us tomorrow, I know he's a very good player and we can see him up close tomorrow. There's always rumors and speculation about other players and Man United. I don't want to comment on every player we are linked to. The fact that he said we can see him up close, is it a case of further scouting because we want to go in for him in the near future? Maybe he's a future player, as Shane says. A few comments about in terms of who's going to start. We're going to get onto it. We are going to talk about the formation and the players. Going to go through a few more of the comments from Solskjaer's press conference. He says, he talks about being a long season. In the last game, Van der Beek, Matic, Donny, Manya, and Paul all started on the bench. They're all experienced and international footballers. It's not easy, of course, but that's when you have squad depth. Someone has to miss out. We play different rotations in the midfield. I feel like we are all capable of playing with each other. These are the words of McTominay now. Says we play different rotations in midfield. I feel like we are all capable of playing with each other. There's not just one stereotype of who can play with who. And I think who you're playing against and the context of the game, what result you need or what result you're looking for, determines who's going to start a game and also what substitutions are going to be made. We saw in the 3 games really, but first and foremost, the first 2 games against Newcastle and Paris, we started with McTominay, Fred, and Bruno. We brought on Van der Beek and Pogba to change the games at 1-1, and we won both of those games in the end. He says, McTominay goes on, says our preseason was very minimal. That's just how it panned out. So games are a good chance to get fit. And I think we definitely saw a lack of fitness in the early stage of the season. Hopefully we are over that. And Solskjaer goes on, we'll go into, this is probably more the main topic. Donny van de Beek is going to play a big part this year. I know at the moment the topic is Donny van de Beek. So, he's not blind to all the discussion that's going on, all the ex-players and pundits, etc., talking about where Donny van de Beek fits into the team. So when players come into a new team, a new league, it's always going to be a time. It's going to take time for him to adapt. When he has played, he's played very well. It says a lot about our depth of quality in the squad that we don't have to use him every single game. And he says, he talks about what some of the commenters are saying. And he goes on to say, along with Alex Telles, Edison Cavani, and obviously Donny van de Beek, they've lifted the dressing room. You can see that with how Alex has played in Paris and Van der Beek when he's come onto the pitch. That was the words of McTominay, who says that Donny's come into training every day with a big smile on his face. So he's confident that Donny's can be a big figure in the team this season. So you know what? I think a lot has been said. For me, a bit too much. People are going well overboard. Free Donny van der Beek. We're 5 games into the season. We're 5 games into the season. I don't think it's any reason to get really annoyed or angry that one player ain't playing or another ain't playing. There's two comments here from Footy Talk and Shane. Is Telles going to start? And then Shane goes, be surprised none of the journalists asked about if Telles was available for the game. You're right, because he missed out against Chelsea, and we didn't really hear anything as to why he missed out. And then no one asked him today about whether he's going to be available for tomorrow. So I guess it's just a waiting game. I don't actually know why there hasn't been more said about it, because he had a very good debut against Paris Saint-Germain, sorry. 40 Talk says, can you read my comment? Donny is the person to start. I feel like Pogba just needs to know he can't get away with it. Well, I think the fact is that Pogba has been dropped. Pogba was dropped after the Spurs game. So he knows that it's not a case of he can just walk into the team. And regardless of the performance, I think everyone is aware of that. Anyone can be dropped. Matic was dropped as well. So I don't think, I'm not worried about Pogba thinking that he can get away with it. I think that point's been made very, very clear by Solskjaer. Justice Christopher, do you think if we buy 1 or 2 traditional wingers, we can play an old school 4-4-2? The only way you can play an old school 4-4-2 is if you play 2 destroyers in the midfield. You have to play McTominay and Fred, or Matic and Fred. That's the only way you could do it in the modern day football, because a lot of teams come up against, or they play a 3-man midfield. And if you play with, let's say, attacking midfielders or even box-to-box midfielders in that way, you tend to get overrun. And then your second striker has to drop deep as well. It can't just be 2 like number 9s. You have to have, like Bergkamp and Henry. And even Cole and York, to be fair, York used to drop into that little number 10 second striker role. So you couldn't just, I don't think Rashford and Martial could be those 2 if we're going to do that, because one of those would have to drop into the space just behind, especially if you're going to have 2 destroyers in the midfield. So I'm not sure about the 4-4-2. He goes and say, well, does a diamond work better? I think the diamond does work better, and we're going to show a few examples of how that can work against Leipzig. Before we go any further, guys, make sure everyone smash the like button, share the content, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Also, congratulations to Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who has announced on his Instagram that he has been blessed with the birth of a child. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, actually, but a child, after all the shenanigans that we heard a week or so ago. Some of them proved to be true if you didn't believe them first and foremost. But yeah, he has had a child, as he announced today. All right, so teams. So this is my first team that I've put up. It's a 3-4-1-2, or 5-3-2, depending on how you want to look at it. Now, this is the same formation that we started the game against Paris Saint-Germain. And of course, we then changed it when we took off Telles, brought on Pogba, and changed to a diamond formation, or 4-3-3, depending on how you want to look at it. But this is a formation that I think we could start with. Now, there's a few omissions some people might be thinking. So we'll go from back to front. Of course, David De Gea in goal. Then we've got Luke Shaw, left centre-back. I think he plays that position pretty well. Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof. And 40 Talk asks, Axel, where's Axel? Listen, I want to see Axel. I want to see Axel Tuanzebe as much as the next person, but I'm very, very aware of the fact that he played 1 game in the last 10 months. And we've got a big game against Arsenal on Sunday. And I am wary about Aubameyang's pace, whether they move Aubameyang through the middle or they still play him on the left. When Arsenal played Man City the other week, Pep Guardiola put Kyle Walker as the right centre-back, and he had Cancelo as the right back. And Kyle Walker's job, basically, as Arsenal like to attack a lot down the left, his job was to track the runs, the diagonal runs from out to in from Aubameyang, and he did that magnificently. He did that to a T. If Axel plays against Leipzig, maximum 60 minutes, maximum. Now, the good thing about Champions League football is that you can make 5 subs. So if you were to take him off after 60 minutes, you've still got enough subs there to change the game if the result isn't going how you want, or you want to maybe change the momentum of the game. So I don't mind Axel starting, but I don't want him playing more than 60 minutes, because I think we need him to start against Arsenal. Arsenal are going to sit back, so we don't need to play such a deep defensive line. And I want to play, if we can play with a higher line and we have the pace of Axel and Wan-Bissaka, especially on the right-hand side, coping with the runs of Aubameyang, like they did against Neymar and Mbappe. That's what I want to see. So not starting Axel in this game is actually in preparation for the Arsenal game. What I would like to see is him to come off the bench for the last 20, 25 minutes in this game to get a few more minutes in his legs, and then he can start against Arsenal. That would be my ideal. That's the only reason why I haven't got him starting this game. Look into the midfield area. So then we've got the right wing back, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, left wing back, Telles. Hopefully, if he's fit, Telles will start in that position. If Telles isn't available, then we scrap this formation because Wan-Bissaka is not a natural attacking fullback, and neither is Luke Shaw. Brandon Williams, I guess he can do a job, but he's not left-footed either. So the team will just lack attacking width if we play like this. So this formation is only feasible for me if Telles is available. Then in the midfield, I've gone with Fred, Bruno, Fernandes in the two-man midfield. Now, Fred for me has to start. I've said it for a few weeks now. Fred for me has to start, especially if Telles is starting. I want Fred on the left-hand side to cover the spaces that Telles vacates when he goes, when he bumps forward. And I think he's got the mobility to do that more so than an Nemanja Matic. Bruno Fernandes dropped into the 8 position when we brought on Mason Greenwood in the last 10 minutes against Chelsea. He can play 8. He plays 8 for Portugal. He's played 8 many times for Sporting Lisbon. He can play in the number 8 position. And I think he's also got the energy and the legs, which you see when he plays up front in terms of the pressing, to do the job. You know, if he has to track back a bit and get in a tackle, he's going to do that. And then he's got the passing ability to play in that midfield to assist with Fred. He's not a McTominay in terms of the enforcer role, but he's not going to be a liability for me in that middle of the park as long as he can remain disciplined. And as I said, he plays that position in the central midfield, in the 8 position for Portugal. So there's nothing that tells me that he can't be disciplined. And then I'll have Paul Pogba playing in that number 10 position. Now, if you want to swap the two, Bruno in the 10, Pogba in the 8, I don't mind. I don't have a massive problem. I think when you've got the 3 centre-backs, I think you can afford to not have 2 enforcers in the middle against RB Leipzig. If you're playing against a Man City or a Barcelona, Real Madrid, a PSG, where a lot of it you're going to be tackling, you're going to be sitting back, you're going to be looking to hit them on a counter-attack, I think, yes, you can play McTominay, you can play Fred. But I think in this game at home, where we're looking to get a win to really stamp our authority on this group, I think playing Bruno or Pogba in the 8 and the other one in the 10 is fine, fair enough. And then the strikers, Martial and Rashford. Again, there's going to be questions. Where's Cavani? Where is Cavani? Now, again, the same thing with Axel Tuanzebe. Martial is out of the Arsenal game on the weekend. I would actually like to see Cavani start that game, which means, like Tuanzebe, I don't want him starting 2 games in a week, having not played or started a game since March. It's a very, very big risk. So I want to see him come off the bench for the last 25 minutes, the last 30 minutes max, really, get some minutes in his legs, a bit, you know, because he looked good. He looked very good against Chelsea. He looked sharp against Chelsea, but we don't know how long. Can he actually last a 90-minute match? Can he last 70 minutes? We don't know. So I think get 25, 30 minutes in this game, maybe take off Rashford. Obviously, it depends how the game is going. All of that depends, but take off Rashford. You know, you don't want to burn him out. We've got a big game against Arsenal. Martial's not going to be playing, so Martial can play the whole 90 minutes. You bring on Cavani. You maybe bring on a Mason Greenwood at another time and just allow those players to get some minutes. Maybe take off Telles and change the formation because we may need them to play against Arsenal. I just don't want to burn out these players because, you know, we've got a lot of games, weekend, midweek, like just constant, that we can't burn out these players. Now, looking at this formation, the question, as the title says, will Donny, Pogba, and Bruno start? I don't think all 3 of them will ever start in the same team. I say ever. You'll get the odd game, maybe handful of games a season, but realistically, it's not a go-to formation. It's not a go-to tactic. But additionally, on top of that, I don't necessarily want it to be a go-to tactic because you start all of those in the starting 11. Then you play Mason, Martial, and Greenwood, and all you have off the bench is Cavani. We've brought in these people to add to our squad depth. If we now throw them all into the starting 11, you're still going to be turning to the Lingards and Pereiras to come off the bench. So for me, I think 2 out of the 3 can start in many games, not all of them, in many games, but all 3 of them starting for me is not a consistent and realistic expectation for us this season. Now, this is the other option. Now, as I said, I've taken out, if you look at the previous one, the number 10, we have Pogba. In this number 10 position, we've got Donny van der Beek. Again, I've got Bruno Fernandes playing in the 8. So for me, Bruno starts this game. And this is obviously a diamond formation, which I don't mind seeing. When you've got now the 2, I've already explained the Cavani and Axel, but when you've got the 2 centre-backs, I think you need cover. So I'm not happy enough to go and say, all right, you've got the 2 centre-backs, you just play a Matic or a Fred in that number, in the number 6 position, the single pivot, and then you play Pogba, Bruno, Van der Beek. That's not enough cover, especially when you're going to have Telles flying up. It's not enough. So if you put Matic at the base of the diamond and you have Fred to the left of the diamond, he's going to cover every time Telles bombs forward. So again, you have that solidity of basically 4 players, the 2 centre-backs and 2 of your midfielders back doing a defensive job every time. And you give your fullbacks, Telles more so than Wan-Bissaka, but you give them the license to get forward and offer some width. I put Van der Beek in the number 10. It could be Pogba, but I would like to see Van der Beek. I really would like to see Van der Beek start this game. Champions League, it's a competition that he's well versed to. It's not like the Premier League where you have to get up to speed of the Premier League. It's a bit different. Champions League is his bread and butter. He's done it there already. He's shown his quality in this competition. And I think him playing just behind Martial and Rashford, and remember, it's a split strikers. So those 2 would be going to the width of the pitch. And Donny van der Beek is very, very good at making those runs in the box. He has more touches in the box than Bruno Fernandes. And we know that Bruno Fernandes is a goal scoring midfielder. Now, if Van der Beek is getting more touches in the box, you know how much of a threat he will be. So when those 2 strikers split and he makes that run in there, it gives so much more options in the midfield. You'll get crosses from Telles, you'll get passes from Fernandes, and he's got the height as well. He scored a number of headers in his Ajax career as well. So he offers something even different to a Pogba. Pogba can get into the box, arriving late, headers, but I think his movement, Van der Beek's movement, is greater than both Bruno and Pogba. His off-the-ball movement, the little one touch and give and go. He's always looking to just basically move defenders around with his own movement. So he'll go short, creates a space, back, etc., and vice versa. So I would actually like to see Van der Beek start. Of course, Van der Beek could start in this formation as well. It's not a problem. You could go with, in the number 10 position where you got Paul Pogba, you can put Donny van der Beek there, and it has the same effect. You have the 2 split strikers, and you would have Van der Beek making those runs into the space, into the middle. And the same here. You can have Pogba in that number 10 position, doing the similar job, should I say, of Van der Beek. But I would like to see Van der Beek start. I think she deserves it. And I'd like to see Axel, Cavani, and Pogba come off the bench, get some minutes in their legs, increase their fitness and their performance, and then we can, get a win, go in with some confidence into the Arsenal game. Because, as I said, these players have let us down so many times. I'm not gonna assume that we're gonna win this game and win that game because we had a good result last week out. They've done that many, many times. The inconsistency is why we are where we are. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we can get a good victory. Let me see what some of these comments are saying. Shane, what players at RB Leipzig do you fear? In my opinion, it's Nkunku, because he was one of the top creatives in the Bundesliga. Nkunku's a very good player. Sabitza's a very good player as well. It'll be interesting to see what formation they actually play, because he's not consistent with one formation. He does switch up a bit. So Solskjaer's going to have to watch out for that. Nomad, I see big things for United going forward with a lot of quality that we didn't have before. 100%. 100%. We haven't seen Lingard this season. I mentioned Pereira earlier. I forgot he went on loan. We ain't seen Lingard this season. Unfortunately, we've seen Mata and Dan James a couple of times more than we really should have. So there's still work to be done in terms of the squad. But we've had mitigating circumstances, players with COVID, quarantining, injury, suspension. So we haven't even had a fully fit squad. Big up Footy Talk in the comments. Hello Madrid Neeks. The only two teams I've seen make the diamond work perfect is Madrid 16-17 and Brazil 2002, but they had Prime, Marcelo and Carvalho, Cafu and Carlos. 100%. No, I agree. The diamond is not an easy formation because your fullbacks, as you said, they're key. They have to do a lot of work. They have to literally be up and down non-stop. Well, I'm better can get up and down non-stop. That's not a problem. The problem is that his attacking output ain't great. So he's getting up, but what's he doing when he gets up? When he's going back, not a problem. Tellez, I'm not going to say it's the opposite, but attacking going forward is great. I don't know about his up and down ability, like literally non-stop up and down, because that whole wing is yours. So I'm yet to see him do that in the same level as the two fullbacks that you would have, or the fullbacks that you mentioned. But I think for a game here or game there, it can work. To do it consistently, I don't think we even have. You have to have a lot of midfield depth, and we do have midfield depth. But with this season, the way that we're playing 2 games a week, we've got 6 midfielders, 4 positions. I think it might be a bit too much. If it was a normal season, I think it could work. But when you're playing 2 games a week, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. And have we practiced it enough? We haven't played it since March. So for us to now say, all right, this is the formation we're going to go with just because we bought X, Y, Z, I think it's a bit premature to go and say that. But, you know, it's an option. It's an option that we haven't really had in previous years because we don't want to have to play, as I said, the likes of Lingard, Mata and Andres Pereira. We've got an option now. We can play multiple formation, which means that even the opposition has to think, what formation is Solskjaer going to go with this week? What players is he going to go with this week? Well, of course, we want to see a settled lineup, and this is the lineup we're going to go with, but we also want to have an element of surprise when we go into those games. And I think we've got a depth in a few positions. Like if you look at the strikers, I've got Marshall and Rashford there, but we've also got Greenwood and Cavani. I haven't even mentioned Igalo. In the same lineup, there's no Pogba there. There's no McTominay. Defense, I'm not even going to mention Eric Bailly, but there's Twanzebe, Luke Shaw. So different formations, different matchups, different combinations in the team. But I'm confident. I'm confident going into this game that the boys aren't going to let Solskjaer down. We've had 3 good games after lockdown. He's gone back to basics in terms of starting from a solid base and going forward, and we've always got the attacking power to get a goal or get a couple goals more often than not. Of course, that wasn't the same when we played Chelsea, but you know Chelsea's not an easy team, and they came there for the draw. They sat 7 men behind the ball and said break us down, and it was tough, and they had a good game. Before we wrap up, a couple of comments here. Jeremiah Ojana, hope Daniel James doesn't start ever again. Daniel James shouldn't start for Man United. He's a bench player, Carabao Cup at best, you know, FA Cup maybe. He's an option off the bench if you really need someone to stretch. You say you want to hit someone on the counter attack, maybe bring in Dan James, maybe, but that's as far as it goes. He's not good enough. Shane says, do you think Ollie would head to head with them or play more defensive? That's a good question. That is a good question. Honestly, I think he might go more defensive. I think he might. I don't think we should or need to, should I say? I don't think we need to. But based on the last couple games, I think he might be a bit more conservative. Not as much as he was against PSG, but a little bit. He might concede a bit of possession to them, especially for the first maybe 60 minutes. Make sure we're in the game and then push on after that. Bring on some attacking subs and push on after that. What we don't want is to be 1 or 2-0 down, or 2 goals down before 60 minutes and we're chasing the game. That's what we don't want to do. So he may be a bit more defensive than I guess you'd hope that Man United are in a Champions League. But you know what? we qualify for the Champions League and we get excited about it. That's where Man United are at the moment. So the badge might be great, but the football hasn't been. Hence why we are in this position where we're fighting for top 4. And I think, I hope Solskjaer's not thinking about a draw being a good result, because I think on the back of a PSG win, we really, really want to get this win. But we're going to wrap up here, guys. Last comment here from Hala Madrid, not about football, but he says, do I think Andre Russell should take some time away from cricket to try and get fit? These injuries are killing him. I wasn't aware that he was injured, but listen, how old is Andre Russell now? Sorry, guys. I know we just delved off the topic, but how old is Andre Russell? Andre Russell is 32 years old. Any time more away from the game, he's going to be 33, 34. I think he's just going to play, get as much money as he can, and go from there. International cricket-wise, he hasn't got the fitness to really offer West Indies much. And he's just going to make as much money as he can from the franchise cricket. So I'm not sure what his injury is at the moment. If he can say, well, I can be back in a year if I rest fully, do that. If it's going to take longer than that, I think you're 32 years old. You maybe got 3, 4, 5 years max really left at this level. Of course, unless you're Chris Gale, you can just keep going and going and going. But yeah, guys. One more comment. Let's stay on the football one. I feel sorry for Ollie. It's from Jeremiah. I feel sorry for Ollie. He didn't get any of his targets. The Glazers need to get the hell out. This is it. And I think that's such a good way to end. This team we're looking at is very, very imbalanced. Hala Madrid mentioned the diamond formation and how important it is for our fullbacks. We don't have the fullbacks to really play the diamond consistently. Solskjaer wants to play a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, but we don't have the wingers to do it. Why don't we have those players? It's because the Glazers haven't invested in the positions that the manager wants. What game is more important, the Leipzig game or beating Banta FC? We honestly, we have to take every game as it comes. We really do have to take every single game as it comes. Leipzig next, Arsenal, Istanbul, Başakşehir, and Everton. The Premier League is your bread and butter. If we lose against Arsenal, it's more detrimental than losing against Leipzig. But losing against Leipzig could be a bad precedent before the Arsenal game. You don't want to lose that game and go into it on a negative or under more pressure. So really and truly, your most important game is your next game. So Leipzig is our most important game because it's our next game. And once we're done with that, then the Arsenal game is our most important game. That's it from me, guys. Make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Turn your bell notifications on. Subscribe to Neeks Sports on all social media. The podcast is out today where we're reviewing the Chelsea Man United game, the Formula One, Lewis Hamilton, and El Clasico over the weekend. I will see you lot soon. I'll be doing a match review after the Leipzig game, and we can chat and see where Man United are at going into the weekend's big fixture against Arsenal. That's it from me, guys. I'll see you lot soon.